So in this video, we are going over the 2020 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. Let's get into it. All right, and before we get into the review, let me just say, usually we get these vehicles for a week. We drive them for the full week, and then we film the video, make our opinions about what we think about the vehicle, and we do the review. This one, though, we've had for 2 weeks because of the event that we went down to, the truck rodeo in Austin. So not only have I driven this much more than a normal review, I've driven it for 2 weeks, but I also drove it for a road trip from Dallas to Austin. And in doing so, it always helps you learn the vehicle more. It helps you get that more day-to-day sense with the vehicle. So we're definitely gonna have a lot to cover here. And starting off, we're gonna talk about the different trims of the 4Runner. All right, first thing to note here is that this is the 2020 model year. They do have the 2021 models already hitting showroom floors, but besides a few colors and a new trim level, they're basically the same. Now, during that event that I referenced earlier, the truck rodeo, I did drive the 2021 TRD Pro, as well as the all-new Trail Edition. So if you're interested to see some of that off-road, definitely go check out the link in the description and check out that video. Now, I'll also throw some of the off-roading footage in this video because we're not taking this specific one off-road, but we did take those off-road, and I'll show you some of those clips. But getting into the trims of the 2020, you have an SR5, you have the SR5 Premium, the TRD Off-Road, the TRD Off-Road Premium, you have the Venture Special Edition, the Limited, the Nightshade Edition, and then finally the TRD Pro, which is what we're driving here. All right, and with that, let's take a look at the exterior design. All right, and the first thing to mention here on the exterior is that exterior color. It is army green, and I really like it in this army green shade. Now, you don't have to get the TRD Pro to get army green. You can actually get this color in some of the other trims, but definitely this army green in the TRD Pro with all the black accents really sets it off. If you saw my review of the Challenger Scat Pack that we reviewed, it was the F8 green, again, kind of an army green. And I mentioned how I liked it in that, and I would like it in Jeeps, but not many other vehicles. This is actually one of those vehicles that I love this color in. And speaking of black accents, we do have these 17-inch matte black TRD alloy wheels, and the TRD logo is in there in red. Really stands out and looks cool. They are hard to see, but if you get up close there, you can see the shocks behind those wheels. They are Fox shocks with TRD tuned front springs. Another TRD accessory that is not hard to see is that TRD skid plate. Now, this does have skid plates under the engine, the front suspension, the fuel tank, and transfer case. And of course, up there prominent is that TRD stamp in that front skid plate. You also get front and rear mud guards, and you get that TRD exhaust right there. And another special touch here on the TRD Pro are the black TRD Pro external badging. You also get a unique front grille with the Toyota name spelt out. You get projector beam headlights with smoke trim, high performance LED fog lights, LED tail lights with the smoke sport trim, and up on the top, you don't get roof rails, you get a black roof basket, which is pretty cool. And of course, this is a serious off-roader, and with any serious off-roader, you need some serious approach and departure angles. This has a 33-degree approach angle and a 26-degree departure angle. And your ground clearance here is 9.6 inches. All right, and with that, let's open up this rear hatch and talk about cargo volume and talk a little bit about this hatch itself. First of all, one of my all-time favorite features is the sliding back windshield, and you have buttons back here, to raise and lower it. So without having to pop the hatch, you can actually lower the back windshield, reach in and grab stuff, and close it back up And when it closes, it automatically locks the vehicle. I think this is also great if you're a cinematographer and you do car video stuff and you want to be able to hang out the back of a vehicle to get rolling shots of a car. I've done it in the bed of trucks. I've done it in SUVs with the hatch completely open. But in something like this, you could sit back here, hang your gimbal or whatever out the rolled down window and be a lot more stealth about it. But with that, let's pop it open and take a look. So it is a really roomy cargo area. You get 46.3 cubic feet of cargo area behind that second row seating. If you were to fold that second row down, you would get 88.8 cubic feet of cargo volume. So again, we made a trip from Dallas to Austin for an event. We had to carry all of our film gear, plus a night's worth of clothes and some other gear for doing editing in the hotel room. Plus we've had stuff like folding chairs and different equipment for my son's soccer games. Obviously, we've done some grocery shopping in here, and it's just a large amount of cargo volume. Now, the 4Runner can actually have a third row in it, but the TRD Pro does not have the third row, and that's one of the reasons you get so much cargo volume. All right, and with that, let's go pop the hood and check out the engine here. All right, and under the hood is a 4-liter V6 engine. That is a dual overhead cam engine with 24 valves and dual independent variable valve timing with intelligence. It pushes 270 horsepower and 278 foot-pounds of torque. That's matched up to a 5-speed automatic transmission, and you have part-time all-wheel drive here, of course, with a lot of off-road tech that we'll talk about a little bit later. So the engine is plenty powerful. You do have that 5-speed automatic transmission, which contributes to the suffering fuel economy. Again, we'll get to in a little bit. You even have the Nissan Frontier now with a 9-speed transmission. You have the Jeeps with an 8-speed transmission. So if there's one thing that this vehicle is screaming for, it's an updated power plant. All right, and with that, it's time to move along to the interior, and we're going to start in the back seats. All right, so in the rear seats, it is spacious and comfortable as you would expect. It is a bigger SUV, and of course we don't have the third row in here, so that might help a little bit with the space that you get. Again, I haven't tested out the one with the third row at all, so I couldn't tell you how it does as a 3-row SUV, but as a 2-row 5-passenger SUV, it does just fine. The seats that you get back here are the same Softex trimmed leather-like seats. Very comfortable, very nice, and it is a 40-20-40 split seat. You also get your own pull-down armrest with cup holders. You get your own air vents and 2 USB ports. But enough of being back here in the heat. Let's jump up front, turn on the car, turn on the AC, and we'll start talking about the rest of the interior. Yeah, it's October in Texas, and just because it's been in the 70s most of this last week, it is almost 100 degrees today, so go figure. All right, and first off, we're going to talk about these seats. They are the same Softex black leather seats. They are heated seats. You do have the TRD logo embossed in the top in red. Very nice looking. These are also power adjustable seats, which is nice considering there's not a whole lot of extra comfort and tech in this, but they are power adjusting seats, so you can get them in a super comfortable position. Now we also have the TRD shift knob. You do get dual climate control, and again, a plethora of tech, which we're about to jump into. So in this TRD Pro, we do have premium audio with dynamic navigation and a JBL sound system with 15 speakers. You also get new multimedia features, including Android Auto, Amazon Alexa, and Apple CarPlay capabilities. You do get Toyota's active safety system standard on all grades of the 4Runner now, and we'll get into a little bit more of that as we get to driving. Of course, this infotainment screen is not just good for navigation and playing your music on, it also doubles as a backup camera. Now, this does not have a 360 camera, not offered at all, which is a little bit disappointing on something that's going off-road nowadays. You really like to have those 360 cameras for off-roading, but at least you do have the backup camera and a little bit of a guide system there. And of course, you do have a lot of off-roading tech in here, including a hill start assist control, a multi-terrain select and crawl control. You get a locking rear differential, and you get a whole overhead console with multi-terrain select, active traction control, VSC 128 cutoff, locking rear differential, and crawl control. But with that, I think it's time to put this thing into gear, get it out on the road, and talk about how it drives. Then we'll talk a little bit of the off-roading experience. Then we'll stop and talk about the price and competition here, and we'll be ready to wrap this video up. All right, and first things first is the driving dynamics here. Again, I've had 2 weeks in this car. I've done a long road trip in this thing, and the driving dynamics are really nice. On-road performance is just as nice as the off-road performance. The off-road suspension means that it takes bumps and potholes and really rough roads out in the country really well. Again, that power from the 4-liter engine is plenty enough to get you up and going where you need to go. You do have a little bit of an exhaust note as well with that TRD exhaust. It's nothing special, nothing to write home about, but you get a little bit of a note. But again, it has just enough power to get you where you need to go, and when you're off-roading, it's got plenty of power and torque to get you up hills or power through some really tough stuff. You do have that radar-guided cruise control that I showed you. You do have lane departure warning systems. It has no autonomous driving for you, so it's not going to push you back into the lanes or anything, but it will warn you as you start veering out. And this isn't a necessary thing for an off-road vehicle, but it's nice to have in a vehicle that you're going to live with every day, especially if you do road trips in it like we did. So it's definitely nice to just get up on the highway, headed towards Austin, hit that radar-guided cruise control on, have that lane keep assist on, and just let the car kind of do the work for me as far as keeping speed and staying away from other vehicles, and then warning me in case I'm just kind of drifting off and not paying attention to those lanes. Now, as far as fuel economy is concerned, it is rated at 16 miles per gallon city, 19 miles per gallon highway with a combined of 17 miles to the gallon. And with my 2 weeks with it, I've actually found that a little bit undervalued there. So during my trip to Austin, which was mostly highway miles, I reset the fuel economy when we left, and I checked it again as I was coming home, and I averaged just at 20 miles to the gallon for that full trip. And then during the full 2 weeks, I've been averaging 18.9 miles to the gallon, and that's with doing a lot of filming of the vehicle. Again, the road trip that we did, leaving this thing idle as we did pictures and video of it. So I think that's a really great number there. And as far as off-roading goes, I did get to drive this out at the Texas Truck Rodeo. Again, it was the 2021 4Runner TRD Pro and the 2021 Trail Edition, which is slotted just underneath the TRD Off-Road. Plus, I've had many years, at least 7 years of going to these events and driving what's basically been the same 4Runner for years now. And all in all, it is an amazing vehicle off-road. It's not quite as nimble as something like a Jeep Wrangler. You do have a bigger vehicle, heavier vehicle, but the things that this thing can do off-road from climbing rocks to doing dunes to running through a field. It basically just has it all. You do have your craw controls, your hill control, you have 4 high and 4 low, you have that locking rear diff, you have those Fox shocks. So it's a ton of fun out there off-road, and of course it looks the part. Again, some of my only complaints with living with this vehicle day to day would have to do with some of the tech in here. At least you get Apple CarPlay now, which is a lot better than you used to get. The infotainment system is okay, but it's definitely outdated. You do get some USB ports to hook up your phone, but there's no wireless charging. There's no USB Type-C. One of my other complaints driving is the hood scoop. So the hood scoop is actually fake in this vehicle. The grill is actually closed off, so it's not doing anything. You can probably add modifications that can make it work. Aftermarket, I'm actually not even sure on that. But when the sun hits it just right, it can actually blind you as you're driving. So one of the first things I would do if I own this would be buying a matte sticker to be able to put on this thing and cover up that hood scoop, give it that matte finish so it's not so glossy and blinding you with sun reflection. All right, and with that, let's find a place to pull over and we'll talk about the price and competition, and then we'll start wrapping this video up. All right, and starting off with the price, let's talk about the base price of the base 4Runner, and that's $36,120, which is a pretty good starting price for what all you get with a 4Runner. Of course, that's not the one that I would want to buy. That's not the one that most people are going to want to buy. If you're looking at a base price of the TRD Pro, you're talking about $49,865. Of course, you could also be looking at the TRD Off-Road, which gives you a lot of off-roading tech also, with just a little bit less of the creature comforts and a little bit less of some of the pro off-roading features. This one that we're sitting in here, the TRD Pro, with a couple of options like the sunroof, has a full MSRP of $51,419, which compared to some of the competition is a really good price, especially for everything that this does off-road. So if you are talking about competition, you'll probably be comparing it to something like the Jeep Wrangler. You can compare it to some of the off-road trimmed trucks out there. Of course, I think the new Ford Bronco that's coming out is going to be good competition for this. And as far as the TRD Pro goes, off-roading goes, that's almost all the competition. So let me jump out, give some final last thoughts, and we'll wrap this video up. All right, guys, so the 4Runner is a special beast. It is a vehicle that has been around since 1984, and it's only in its 5th generation, typical of Toyota. It's a family hauling, road tripping, boat towing, hill climbing, rock demolishing, badass looking SUV that might not be for everyone, but is still a really great and fun vehicle. Would I personally buy one? Maybe. I do like them. I'm not a huge fan of the tech that you get in these things. Toyota always lags behind in tech, but this thing is not supposed to be a techie vehicle. It's supposed to be more of an analog vehicle anyways. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to ride comfortably, and for all that, it does it well. So if you're looking for a day-to-day commuter and don't really care about off-roading, I would probably skip this unless you really like that truck feel in an SUV. But if you're looking at a Jeep Wrangler or maybe a smaller truck, but you really wish you had the SUV, or even if you're looking at one of the new Broncos, I would definitely still take the 4Runner into consideration because this is still a beast of a vehicle. All right, guys, and with that, that's gonna wrap up the review. I hope you did like this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the 4Runner and the TRD Pro. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. All right, guys, usually at this point in the video, I'm pitching you to go check out TXGARAGE.com or TXGARAGE.locals.com, and you definitely still should do that. I'll have links down in the description if you're interested in checking out those. But in this one, I really wanted to pitch to you guys to check out the playlist of all of the vehicles we drove at the Texas Truck Rodeo, or at least all the vehicles we've made videos for so far. We had a chance to drive a lot of vehicles. It was a nice, tight, short, technical off-road course. So it was a lot of fun. We put a lot of time and energy into making those videos, and I would really appreciate if you went and checked them out. Again, I'll have a link down in the description, or it'll probably be on one of the in-screen cards or up in the iCards, or just go to our page. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe and find that playlist. With that, I promise now the video's over.